For the debate, the member for Windsor West.
Thank you, Speaker. And it's my pleasure to rise and add comment to the Bill 33, Safeguarding Our Communities Act. And I commend the member for Nipissing for bringing forward a bill such as this. Some of you may not know that before I came here, for many years I was a dental assistant, and the office that I worked in was right in downtown Windsor. And a few blocks over from the office that I worked in was the Salvation Army. And they used to run a drug rehab program out of the Salvation Army separate to the other services they provide. And often we would service the clientele in the rehab program. And they would come in, and they were obviously coming in with some sort of dental issue, usually pain associated with it. And I was always pleased to give them the treatment that they needed, but unfortunately, because of the program that they were in, there were strict rules around what we were allowed to prescribe them for their pain. Certainly, these are people who have come forward and recognized that they have an addiction issue, and they're trying to get over that. And as many people would know, it's very difficult once you have an addiction to get over that addiction, and so they need all the support that they can. So they would come into the office, and we would do the dental treatment that was required, and although we weren't dispensing narcotics or writing prescription for narcotics, because we certainly wanted to support them to try and get over their addiction, even if we were giving them antibiotics for something, there was a policy through not only our office but through the rehabilitation program that we were required to call into one specific pharmacy, let them know who the patient was, and let them know what it was we were prescribing. And that patient was not able to go to the pharmacy and directly pick up that medication. It was then sent to the rehab program at the Salvation Army, and it was locked up in a dispensary, and they had people at the Salvation Army who would then administer any medications, give out any medications that anyone in the program needed, and that was their way of helping support those that were in the program trying to kick the addiction that they had. And I think that this is a really important bill because it talks about how we have people who are dealing with addictions problems, and it's very difficult for them, and because there are people out there who want to make money and make lots of money any way that they can, unfortunately they prey on people with addiction issues, and this bill helps with that because it sets out a rule that says that in order to be able to receive a fentanyl patch, you have to hand one in. So I think that's a really good control to help those people that are suffering with addiction issues. I think it also speaks volumes to trying to curtail criminal activity around people getting a hold of prescription drugs and selling them to others. I know, and I'm sure it's across the province, there were issues around people getting prescriptions for stuff like OxyContin or oxycodone, and they would go into their workplace and they would sell off the pills to people, and they were making money that way. And I think that's really an unfortunate way for anybody to try and make money, and it's very dangerous, incredibly dangerous. So I think that with something like fentanyl patches, and this is a lot of new information for me. I wasn't aware that fentanyl patches were used for severe and chronic pain, and we all know that people that suffer with chronic pain, that's not something anybody would want to live with, and we certainly want them supported. But I didn't realize that these patches were 100 times stronger than morphine or 40 times stronger than heroin. I mean, that's startling to me to think that there are people out there who would take advantage of someone with an addiction issue and take something like a fentanyl patch and sell it to them to make money for their own benefit, to do whatever it is they want to do with that money, and essentially build on those addictions, or even people who have legitimate reasons for using fentanyl patches. There's always a concern of them developing an addiction. So by having to return patches that have been used in order to get patches, it's definitely another way for the medical professionals to keep an eye on somebody, to make sure that there isn't an issue developing, to make sure that these are being used the way that they're supposed to. I also found it interesting that even after they're used, and used properly, the way they're supposed to, when it's time to dispose of them, to discard of them, that there's still enough medication on them to cause an overdose. So there's concerns for me around, unfortunately, I think every community has homeless people, and that's certainly something that we don't want to see. But unfortunately, we do have homeless people, and often you will find them accessing disposal, many different, through restaurants or through pharmacies or wherever, private garbage disposal. And it's shocking to me that they could potentially come across something like this, that somebody's used, thought it's safe to get rid of, thrown it into a garbage, and now they've come across it and they don't think anything of using it, and they don't realize just how dangerous it is for them to be using these. There's always concern about people accessing medication that was meant for somebody else. There's always concern about someone using medication that would have an adverse effect against something else that they're using when they're mixing medications, and to think that somebody could come across something and think it's harmless and use it and could lose their life over it is something that we definitely would like to reduce. And the member from Nipissing also talked about criminal activities such as taking these patches and selling them for profit. And having been the community safety and correctional critic, I can speak to the challenges they face inside our correctional services on a daily basis. And I think that their resources are stretched very thin already. They face many challenges. They have those with mental health issues that are put in facilities that perhaps should be redirected into some sort of community support program rather than put into a correctional facility. And they have many people with addiction issues that will do anything to feed their addiction and ultimately break the law and end up in a correctional facility. And these are people who actually could also benefit from supports in the community, something like the Salvation Army Rehabilitation Program. So I think that something like this, where a patch has to be handed in before one is given out, would help address that issue, but it would also help address in correctional facilities. They are always facing issues with people smuggling in drugs for the inmates, which always causes issues. So something like this would stop something like fentanyl patches making it into the correctional system. So you may have people with addiction issues who are already in the system, and now you have somebody who is bringing in these fentanyl patches, smuggling them into a correctional facility and feeding into that addiction, and those people tend to cause more issues for the correctional officers in the system. So we certainly don't want to be putting the frontline staff in corrections in our correctional facilities at any more risk than they already are. And we certainly don't want people who are in the correctional services that have addiction issues having any more access to the very things that cause their addiction issues. I appreciate the time to comment, and I think other members also have comments, so I'll wrap it up for now. Thank you, Speaker.